Hey Brobst, it's time for video confessional number 2, and I want to start off by talking about what scares me. This game frickin' scares me. I like to feel like I'm in a good spot and set up well socially, but that never works out well. You've got a lot of power players, and the power players are actually trying to work together here, which is insane, and I can only imagine that that's not going to last. And last night I was terrified based on what I was hearing. First of all, quite simply, Cass was not saying anything. I didn't realize at the time she was just not planning to be online, but I thought she just felt really comfortable. And I thought she's got that other immunity, and she's got a plan for how she's going to stick around. Then I hear Brenda drop a bomb in my lap that Ian told her he thinks that Yule and Sierra and I are working together. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't. But trying to get information out of Ian is like trying to get to Mars. It's just he speaks in code. Philip cracked me up with a message today where I actually forwarded him, I violated the sacred survivor rule, and I actually sent him the exact trail that Ian and I had so he could look at it and said, hey, translate this. And he said, I'm pretty sure Ian was stoned when he wrote that. So that was really funny, but that's the kind of messages you get from Ian. He will contradict himself from one message to the next. He is not consistent in when and how often he talks to you. I need to make a note to make sure I reach out to Ian 3-4 times a day, because he's not going to reach out to me. I'm not going to get information from him or anything else. So Ian really scares me, whereas Fabio is the smarter of the two, I've come to learn. Ian is the one that scares me more. I do think that Ian feels that he can't necessarily trust Philip, and he can't necessarily trust me. And that's not a good place to be. And I was certain that Cass was going to end up with immunity last night, and somehow I was going to end up being the backup vote. There's just oddness out there. And as much as I feel good about people, everybody is so intermingled, more so than any other game. Everybody is still very social. Everybody is still very guarded. Even amongst our 6 and / our 7 that we've been talking about, which is Ian, Fabio, Philip, Yule, Jeremy, Tasha, and Francesca as an add-on. But Eric's also an add-on. But Sierra's also an add-on. Everybody's making plans for when is it I'm going to flip the script. So that's what scares me. But what I wanted to really talk about here is the future. I want to talk about how many times 6 goes into 11. So I've already mentioned the core 6. There's a foursome within that, supposedly. It is Ian, Fabio, Philip, and Jeremy. Now, Yule knows that the real deal is Philip, Yule, and Jeremy. That's the 3 that has been in place the whole time. But Philip and I went to go grab Fabio and Ian because they seemed interested to make a 4 there, but there is this all much more important 3. Because I'm probably more loyal to Yule than anyone else in the game, and have been for a while. But Tasha now comes in as number 6, and she brings in Francesca as a potential 7. But Sierra is also a 7 because Fabio really likes her, and Eric is also a potential 7 because Philip really likes him. And the only people on the outside of this right now are Lisa and Brenda, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So I want to talk about percentages, how much I trust these people, because there's a lot of ways to put 6 together right now. Do I take a risk and really try and go out there? I don't think so. I think I've kind of pushed myself a little too far, and I need someone else to take the reins. I need Fabio to be seen as in control. I think he's getting there. I need them to see him as overconfident. And like he's in a really good place, because that's going to get people to ultimately want to turn against him. But I've got this in alphabetical order starting from 1 o'clock, and I just wanted to talk through what percent I feel I trust these people. So Brenda, I trust her probably 25%. I'm even going to change it off of what I wrote. I don't talk to her enough. She's so good to come and tell me what she's heard. She's told it to Tasha, she told it to Yule, but she also goes to Fabio and tells him things, and she talks to Ian, and she tells Philip, and she's all over with everybody, doing anything she can to stay safe. So there's no loyalty there. So while I feel like I really get along with her, as far as a trust and feeling like she and I are tight, I got to go 25%. Next is Sierra. I need to pull my magic wand. I kept it because I need it, right? Next is Sierra. So Sierra, I'm going to put her at 40%. She and I were much tighter until the Aubrey vote. And the Aubrey vote was the day I forgot to talk to her the whole day. Bad lane. So I'm a little more worried about where she is. So I've got Sierra at 40% because I think she's more connected now to Fabio than she might be to me. There's still options there. Percentages don't necessarily mean a whole lot because you can turn those around really quick with some good conversation. Next up is Eric. Eric was someone I felt really good with very early on. We had a lot of good talks, and we've kind of drifted apart. I've got him at 60%. I think that he is closer to Philip than me, but I think he is certainly with the whole Philip and Jeremy vibe, which makes him a very viable option for Philip and I, and Yule. Next up is Fabio, who I've already talked to. I trust him 60%, 70%. He could get up a little bit higher. I think I really connect with him, and I think we have similar styles, but in the back of my head, Fabio just seems like that guy that says he's your friend while the whole time he's scheming behind your back. So I have high hopes for him, but there's trust missing. And as much as we share everything, anything he tells me, he tells Ian, he tells Philip. I don't have anything that is legitimately his and my connection. Next up, we have Francesca. Really like Francesca. Also have moved away from her. I have her at 30%, 35%. She's definitely more connected to Tasha, even though Tasha said, oh, well, we get along, but I don't know that I'd really consider her to be that close to me. Well, yeah, you are. Like I said, she's that 7, and if we need Tasha to make a move against Fabio, we're going to need Fran as well. So Fran's probably pretty important. Next up is Ian. No surprise. He's the bottom of the barrel for me. Just because of the level of conversation I get out of him, I've got him at 20%, and he could be even lower than that. Jeremy, that's me. I trust him about 95% because I can't necessarily trust the decisions that he's going to make. So I have him at 95%. Lisa is next up, another person I really like. Really good connections with her. Personal conversations feel great. I have her at 45%, but clearly she's connected to Brenda out of necessity more than likely. If I was better and would include her on strategizing and conversation, we could be much better off, but I'm worried about her going and telling other people what I'm saying. So I need to work on the trust factor there, but 45%. Next up is Philip. I've got him at 80%. As far as, I tell Yule everything, but I really share more with Philip. I share messages with him. I share more strategy with him. He's so antsy. He wants to make a move so bad, and he wants to make it sooner rather than later, and I need to let him do that. It'll put a target on his back, but he needs to feel good about that. But I've got him at 80% because he could just decide that when he decides to make a move, it's going to be on me. Next up is Tasha. I've already talked about her. I'm going to put her at 75%. Really strong up there. I think she's tighter with Yule and I. Probably there's some Philip in there too, but she is a talker to Fabio. So she's going to decide who the bigger threats are, and she's going to go into a group to take the threats out. I just need to not be that threat. And then lastly is Yule. My main squeeze, 100%. I trust him exclusively. I would not say things that he says to me. I don't think I have. My original goal was not necessarily that he was going to be the guy I trusted to the end, and so I was perfectly fine letting people know how close I was to Yule. And now that Yule is probably the guy that I feel better about than anyone else, I'd really rather people not know that I'm that close to Yule. But there's no secret there, so I can't really do anything to get around that. So all in, I feel really good with Yule and Philip still. Philip is going to want to make a move sooner rather than later. I just need to be part of who he makes a move against and not the one he makes it on. I need Tasha and Francesca to take a look and see who are the threats, and I need them to see them as Fabio and Ian, because if those two are going to go rogue, I either need to know about it in advance or I need them to be the ones that we act against. So I'm almost at 10 minutes. That's kind of what I'm thinking in a nutshell here. So I will let it go at 9:50. See ya.